Today, I'm going to share with you my account of being a doctor in training, some of the difficulties I faced, and the role of being authentic and supporting this. I'm starting with a poem I've written to help encapsulate some of the experiences and feelings I've had as a doctor in training. The poem is called A Doctor Burnt Out. A doctor, a healer, walks onto the wards. "Hi, I'm Jack. How can I help?" he calls. The team flurry past, handing him jobs and charts. "Start here, do this, admin work, not smarts." Rotate, next job. 70% of trainees this year felt burnt out. They think of patient problems like an annoying flare of gout. When they feel undervalued and forgotten, how can they care about your mum's problem? Rotate, next job. He flails within a system no longer fit for purpose. Ambition deflated. He don't reach for the skies. He thought this job was about saving lives. But who cares about him at the end of the night? Rotate, next job. Mindfulness, resilience, offered like band-aids. Staying late, again, all of it unpaid. Trying to do your best, the expectation too much. Stuck in your own head, forget the power of touch. Rotate, next job. But stop, listen. Who is this doctor? What makes him tick? How can he belong, love his work, not be sick? Understand his story. What makes him feel valued? Build support systems, not doctors abused. Money might help, that is true. But let's improve working conditions too. Rest facilities, study leave, a computer that works. Teamwork, a purpose, a supervisor that cares. We ask that you take pause for a minute. Understand our perspective, how to live it. Doctors unsupported, undervalued, burnt out. Hear us, respect us, put the fire out. This experience is common for many doctors as we start work. We are often treated as a number on the rota, there for admin and service provision, struggling to make connections and feel that we belong as we frequently rotate to the next job. My career as a doctor started in 2015, as my university friends dispersed across the country and I left Bristol, moving to the sunny English Riviera in Torquay. I was fortunate in this relatively isolated district general hospital to find a close network of friends with good mentors and teachers to support me in this new job, helping me find my feet and deal with the responsibilities and pressures. The work was still hard, often staying late to care for patients. And like now, we were also undergoing contract negotiations and junior doctor strikes. As new doctors, we struggled to see a positive future and career for us, where we felt valued and that we were actually making a difference. For one of my friends and colleagues, Rose, an exceptionally friendly, hard-working and diligent doctor, the pressure to do well and uncertainty in her role became too much and was one of the contributing factors in her tragic suicide. We all felt the pressure to succeed and not show weakness, and as Rose struggled, she felt she had nowhere else to turn. Her loss was devastating and made us question everything. How did we not realise? Could we have stopped it? How can someone who appeared to be thriving in the job be hiding so much strain? Before we could even process the loss, we were back at work, caring for patients as their photos stared at us from newspapers on the patient's table. But by sharing our grief and our worries and embracing the healing power of the seaside, we formed stronger friendships and managed to survive together. 18 months later, I was offered a surgical training job. And as I moved to Wales, I packed my memories of Rose and my friendships in Torquay into a small little box at the back of my mind. Rotate, next job. I now had to focus on my career in being a surgeon. I had no friends locally and felt very isolated as I struggled to balance exam revision, busy on calls and CV building. Some days I really needed a hug and someone to talk to, but that was now a 3-hour drive away. The pressure was high, and as I worked hard to meet my own and my trainer's expectations, I was overwhelmed and ready to give up. But I couldn't tell anyone, and I couldn't fail. Now I know that all good stories have a happy ending, and this is where I like to say that over time I made new friends, connected and shared my struggles, but that would be disingenuous. In reality, time passed, work got a little easier, and I did make a few friends, have coffee with and share my trivial grievances. But just as we were reaching the dating stage of our new friendship, with dinner, wine and deeper conversations, guess what? Rotate, next job. Now each rotation, it gets harder and harder to open up, to be authentic and to be ourselves. It's like a secret plan to numb our emotions before we become consultants in case we start feeling too much. If we're lucky, we might get to return to the same hospital later in our training, or settle down and buy a house but face a longer commute instead. So you can live near your friends and family, but not have too much free time to see them. As humans, we need connection to promote our sense of belonging, improve our physical and mental health, and prevent suicide. This can be particularly challenging for doctors who feel the need to promote the professional persona and focus on the job. So what is the solution to build connection and protect our mental well-being? Stop rotations? Do we think that the doctors that stay with one team don't feel alone or overwhelmed by the pressure? Of course not. And that is part of the solution. In realising you're not alone in your feelings and knowing you're doing your best in a system under pressure. In recognising our emotions and talking openly about them, we can come to manage, accept and work with them, enjoying the highs as well as facing the lows. Some days, coming to work, I still feel that I put on my mask to perform a balancing act of pleasing the patients, consultants, nurse and staff and my other colleagues. Most of the time I'm very good at this. I'm friendly, organised, caring and efficient. But I can't perform at 100% all the time. And some days it's harder to put on the show, and I start to feel the weight trying to be someone I'm not, especially when stressed or tired. Sometimes it can seem easier to hide away from our feelings or blame others, but that can create a healthy culture that isn't civil or sustainable. Whenever I meet a new colleague, I wonder, will they survive? I've seen too many colleagues burn out, develop destructive behaviours, leave the country, leave medicine, or die, to know that we've been doing things wrong and things need to change. Medicine shouldn't be about survival. We can't manage the stress of the job, the pressure to succeed, or isolation on our own. We need to connect with each other. Recently, I had a colleague share their worry for their family in Sudan, who were trapped in their homes in the middle of a war zone, fighting for their lives. They confided how scared they were and how, although at times distracted, being at work enabled them to feel helpful somewhere. I was humbled by their ability to share so openly, enabling the team to support them, making allowances if the colleague had to answer their phone or suddenly have a break. Writing this talk, I had many ideas about well-being, but still felt a block when it came to sharing my personal stories and feelings. It's really hard to be authentic and vulnerable, especially when you rotate jobs every 4 to 6 months. Rotate, next job. But in sharing my stories and anxieties about stress in work, loneliness and public speaking, I realised I have many trusted friends and colleagues who believe in me and want to help me succeed. So whether it's giving a presentation or dealing with a complex patient or a busy on call, I know I'm not alone. And I owe it to them to be honest and to be myself, whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, so that they can support me to succeed. As doctors, educators and leaders, we have a responsibility to understand our emotions and authentically acknowledge how that impacts our behaviour and the people around us. I now try to consciously share some of my tensions with my colleagues so they can understand my perspective that day, and in turn they might feel a bit more comfortable sharing things. Now, I'm not saying you have to have a 30-minute team hug and a cry, but just ask a quick question to explore. How are you feeling today? What are your energy levels like on a 1 to 10? Or what's troubling you at the moment? These might help break the ice and offer an opportunity for someone to share they slept poorly, they have stress at home, or are struggling with the workload. Every August, as the new doctors start, full of compassion and enthusiasm for their vocation, we need to stop questioning who will survive the pressure of training, who will drop out, and who will lose a life. As a trainee, it's easy to feel lost in the system, to be overwhelmed and feel just like a number there for service provision. Isolation and a loss of purpose quickly leads to burnout. But by talking authentically about our difficulties and fallibilities, we can create a safe space for others to connect and share their stories. And perhaps we can help a few more doctors survive. Thank you for listening.